Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Anna Maria Baralt. It means the world to me, to our family, and to every single person who believes in fairness, justice, and rehabilitation. We are gathered here today because truth matters, because survivors of abuse deserve to be heard, because accountability should not be weaponized to deny people the second chance they've worked so hard for. Today we stand together, not just for Eric and Lyle, but for every person who has been silenced, for every person who has fought to be believed, and for every person who has been told that the worst thing they ever did defines them forever. We have advocates from Anti-Recidivism Coalition, Latino Justice, and Healing Dialogue and Action with us here today. People who understand this system firsthand, who know what true rehabilitation looks like. These are individuals who have lived this fight, have gone before the parole board, who have been granted a second chance and have done so much good with it. We are honored to have them standing with us. We are also here as a family that has suffered, a family that has endured, but a family that has also seen Eric and Lyle take full accountability for their actions, and a family that has forgiven and is ready to heal. The district attorney might not care about that, but he will hear us today. So I want to thank you all again for standing with us. I want to thank the incredible speakers who will be sharing their perspectives. And I want to make one thing very clear. We are not going anywhere. We will not stop fighting. We will not stop fighting for Eric and Lyle, for justice, and for the truth. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our first speaker, David Amaya.
Good morning. My name is David Amaya. I am the program manager for the Anti-Recidivism's Hope and Redemption team. The HEART program consists of a 10-week workshop inside prison focusing on parole preparation and reentry planning. All facilitators, are formerly incarcerated individuals, many of whom are returning to their very prisons that they were paroled from, to reach, inspire, and mentor the men and women still inside. I am here today on behalf of ARC to ask the judges considering the resentencing and habeas and the governor and board of parole to believe in second chances and give a proper recognition to rehabilitation and change. We are honored to stand here alongside our fellow advocates as well as the survivors who have worked so hard to bring this case back to life. At ARC, we work with people who have made bad decisions, people who at one point in their lives saw no way out, people who because of their broken system didn't believe change was possible. But Eric and Lyle are proof that that is. I know the power of that work. They have not just served their time, they have made something meaningful of it. They have worked to improve their lives of those around them. They have mentored young people in prison, and they have graduated from the ARC programs designated to prepare incarcerated individuals for success and reentry. I know firsthand how important those programs are. When I was 22, not much older than Lyle, when he first was arrested, I was sentenced to a 15 to life sentence because I joined a gang at 13 years old. My violent youth behavior followed me even into incarceration. I spent 10 years in Pelican Bay because of that. I didn't believe that change was possible. I believed that was my lot in life at the moment. But then one day, my daughter helped me realize I had to turn my life around. That moment saved me. Not everyone gets that moment, and that's why Eric and Lyle's work is so important. They have been that moment for so many people behind bars. Men who needed someone to show them that redemption is possible, that rehabilitation is possible, that life after prison is possible. Eric and Lyle have turned their lives around over the last 35 years. They apologize for what they did that night, and they are so much more than what they did that single night on the days after. They started programs, mentored younger people, and became model inmates despite the fact that they never thought they would see the light of day, our freedom. As someone who has gone before the parole board and has been granted the chance to give back to the community, work for organizations dedicated to meaningful reentry and avoid recidivism, I know without a shadow of a doubt that Eric and Lyle deserve that same chance. Eric and Lyle do not pose a threat to the public safety or society. They have served their time. Now it's time for them to be with their families, to move forward and continue their work to help others turn their lives around. Thank you. Now I'm going to ask a mentor of mine, Michael Mendoza, for Latino Justice.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Mendoza, and I'm the National Criminal Justice Director at Latino Justice. Latino Justice is a national civil rights organization where we focus on using and changing the laws to create more safer communities that are equitable and just. We are here in strong support of Eric and Lyle, of his family, of all the advocates. As you can see, all around us, you have people that represent our community. You have family members, you have survivors, you have people who are formerly incarcerated, men and women, here to join us today in support of ensuring that people like Eric and Lyle get an opportunity, receive hope, and are able to earn their way home. But I'm not just here in a professional capacity. I'm here because at the age of 15, I unfortunately also committed a crime. When I was tried as an adult and I was given a 15 to life sentence and ended up serving 17 years in adult prisons. And it was during that time where I actually met Lyle Menendez in Tehachapi State Prison. I got to see him do his time. I got to see him stay focused and making sure that he took part in everything he needed to do in terms of rehabilitation programs. And I was proud to know him and who he is today. And the one thing that we really want to emphasize is people like myself, young people, men, women who get involved in the justice system at such a young age, don't just do it because we wake up wanting to commit a crime. Unfortunately, I had experienced a lot of sexual, physical, and bullying trauma growing up as a young kid. And although it's not an excuse for the actions that I committed, we believe that people should be held accountable, but in humane ways that provide hope. And we are grateful that here in California, we have what's called the Youth Offender Parole Board, where they take into account the youthfulness of people who are engaged in the criminal justice system and the belief that we should not give up on our children. We should not give up on young people. We should not throw people away. The sad reality is that when you fill these prisons up with such a hopeless sentence, the rest of the population is really hard to grind towards the goals of wanting to come back home, wanting to be a part of the society and our communities. And so we're here today to ensure and to give a message to DA Hochman. Do not ignore the new evidence. Do not ignore what the family is desiring. Do not ignore what advocates are pleading for. We're not just pleading for a second chance for two individuals. We're pleading for a second chance for those who are being extremely punished without an opportunity to come home. If we really truly want a safer society, we need to give people in prison hope and a meaningful chance to come back to their families. And so I'm very, very grateful here today that you all are here to receive this message, and we hope that the DA listens to everybody here, takes into consideration that true public safety will come through redemption and second chances. So thank you all for coming, and I'm going to now introduce my dear friend and colleague, Javier Starring.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Javier Starring. I am executive director of an organization called Healing Dialogue in Action, a restorative justice organization that has allowed me to accompany people responsible for horrible crimes, their families, and also the victims and survivors of these families for over 4 decades. I want to start out by really thanking the family, really thanking you for your strength, for your courage to bring light to a systemic issue that affects all of us. We believe that if crime hurts, justice should help heal. And in many ways, the criminal justice reform efforts have created opportunities for people responsible for the harm to go through a process of healing. I work with some amazing people at Healing Dialogue in Action that similarly were sentenced to life in prison and had to find a way to transform their lives and prove that they are not a risk to society, that on the contrary, that they are coming back to give to society. I've sat with people in prison through this transformation. I've seen that grueling life that they go through of self-reflection and understanding the trauma that they endured and how that plays a role in our actions and how we perceive the world. I've sat in circle with them when they sink in the understanding of all the harm that they cause, that the ripple effect of their actions, and create an incredible amount of empathy and compassion and want to give back to the world. That type of transformation that happens in circles in prison, the type of transformation that Kyle and Eric has gone through, creates uniquely gifted individuals that then are helping others. And my colleagues are here a testament of that. But more than anything, I want folks to reflect on what is it that we want from a justice system? What is it that we want to obtain through our process of justice? And I would hope that we start with thinking first with the victims and survivors, the people that have suffered the harm. Because this family has suffered on both sides the worst that the system has to offer. On one side, they lost an aunt and an uncle, a cousin, a sister, and they have to grieve that. And on the other side, they lost cousins that to the system that they have to grieve that as well. And they're going through their process. And they're creating all of this, just pleading that they help them through this process. The system wants their family to be home. I mean, not the system, the family, the survivors want Lyle and Eric to be home so that they can continue their healing journey. The system should at least respond to that basic need after so many years of suffering. Avery, this young girl, 18 years old, she has chosen to study criminal justice because she was born into this experience of being impacted by the system. And after feeling both sides of it, she has been called to study criminal justice with the hopes of creating a better system for all. Mr. DA, Mr. Hockman, please, it's a simple decision. Allow Eric and Lyle to go before the board. Allow them to prove that they are ready to come home. But more than that, listen to this family. Listen to the family. They have suffered enough. Thank you. And Tamara?
First off, I just want to thank all of you for standing here with us today. This fight is personal for our family, but it's also bigger than us. This is not just a news story. We're a real family of real people. Today it's about fairness, about justice, and about not letting personal bias, politics get in the way of what we need to do and what is right. My grandmother Joan dedicated the last 35 years of her life to advocating for the lives of Eric and Lyle. And we are here to continue that fight for Eric and Lyle and to continue advocating for them. Marcy's Law exists to give us victims' families a voice in the justice process, and yet District Attorney Hochman doesn't seem to want to listen or engage with us. We lost Kitty and Jose, but we also lost Eric and Lyle in this process. We have a unique situation of being multidimensional victims. At every turn, we feel like DA Hochman has dismissed us, ignored us, and quite frankly, treated us like we don't matter. Why? Why does he seem to be making this case so personal? A district attorney is supposed to be fair, impartial, and focused on the law. But Hochman is not acting like a neutral party. He is relegating a case from 35 years ago with the same outdated lens that ignored abuse and trauma and compassion in the first place. And now he's saying that Eric and Lyle are still a danger to society. But to who? Anyone who spends even 5 minutes with Eric and Lyle will tell you that it's just not true. They have dedicated themselves to improving the lives of incarcerated people. They have created programs that support victims of such sexual abuse. They have helped mentor young inmates so they don't reoffend if they have the opportunity to be released. Eric and Lyle have spent 3 decades avoiding the pitfalls created by the justice system that suck people into the toxicity of incarceration. They have done more good from inside of a prison than most people do in their lifetime. And yet Hochman is hyper-focused on one thing, what they said as scared kids. I have kids. Kids lie. Kids lie when they're scared, when they feel intimidated, and when they've been traumatized. They lie when they don't know who to trust, but they grow up, they learn, and they take responsibility. And Eric and Lyle have done exactly that. They have apologized multiple times to all of us standing here. They have owned and accepted every ounce of their actions. We have elderly family members who have desperately wanted to reunite with them before the chance is too late. Not just because they love them, but because they also carry the weight of regret for not speaking up when they had the chance. Letting them come home isn't about letting them off easy. They've served their time. It would, however, give them a chance to spend time with family members who don't have a lot of time left with us. It would give them a chance to be here with all of us standing here today. A support system that they didn't have as kids because we didn't know what they were going through. We don't understand why Hochman is so set on keeping us apart. It feels cruel and it feels very, very personal. And it feels like he is more interested in punishing Eric and Lyle for childhood lies than actually looking at the facts and following the law. But we stand with Eric and Lyle. We know who they are. We know that they are not a threat, and we are here today because we refuse to be ignored. It is time to stop rewriting history. It is time to acknowledge their rehabilitation, and it is time to bring them home. And now Sarah Malice has a message from her father, Alan Anderson.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Malice. My father is Brian Allen Anderson Jr., who is Kitty Menendez's nephew, but to Eric and Lyle, he's just their cousin Al. My father couldn't fly out today, so I flew here from Chicago to stand with my family and represent him. I also want to thank everyone for their outpouring of support for Eric and Lyle to come home to us. Before I share my own experience, my father wanted me to share the following with all of you. My father loves his cousins so much. He has seen how they turn their pain into a real purpose while in prison. They have made lives better without the expectation to do so. When he was younger, my father saw the terrible home in which they lived, the experiences that they had to go through as children. He tried to speak about all of that he knew to his father, but it fell on deaf ears multiple times. Now, he wants everyone to hear his voice loud and clear. He wants the entire criminal justice system to hear him and do something. If my father were here today, he would say very clearly that he loves Eric and Lyle. He forgives Eric and Lyle, like so many relatives from both sides of our family. And he would feel completely safe welcoming Eric and Lyle into his home. I share the same sentiment as my father. As I wrote in a letter to the board of the parole, this case has influenced nearly my entire life. I was 3 when Eric and Lyle were arrested and 10 when they were sentenced to life in prison. I saw my father grapple with the memories of the very real experiences that he had in Kitty and Jose's home. He knew something was wrong, but he couldn't do anything about it. These experiences made him a very protective father, someone who was determined to be there no matter when I needed him as I grew up. But the pain that we feel is still very real. Every documentary, every miniseries, every development is a fresh tear in the wound that my family has tried to heal for 30 years. We want the suffering to end. The only way it does is for Eric and Lyle to come home so they can hug my father, hug me, and hug every person who is standing beside me, and for those who can't make it here today, so that we can move on from this tragedy. I know that Eric and Lyle have taken what most would see as a hopeless life and injected growth, remorse, and love into it. If we, the family, are saying that we want them home, if wardens and correction officers are saying that they would welcome Eric and Lyle as neighbors, if the dozens of people assembled here today are showing up and expressing their support, what else does the system need to hear? So please, listen to us and allow us to bring Eric and Lyle home. Thank you. I'll turn this to Anna Maria.
Thank you to all of our speakers. I hope you'll indulge me. I have some more comments to make. First, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you again for being here today. Seeing so many people show up for Eric and Lyle, for truth, for justice, it means everything to us. I've been standing here as their cousin, but more importantly, I am standing here as someone who loves them. I grew up with Eric and Lyle. We swam together. We spent summers canoeing on the lake. We were just kids, laughing, playing, and making memories like any family does. From the outside, it looked like we had this picture-perfect childhood, but looking back now, it is devastating to know that while we were playing games, they were silently suffering. And yet they kept going. They kept finding ways to be strong, to push through, to survive. But let me be very clear, Eric and Lyle did not survive that house. They walked out of it. But they carried everything with them, the fear, the trauma, the betrayal. That's the reality of abuse. It doesn't end when you leave the house. It stays with you. It controls you. It convinces you that no one will believe you, that you are trapped. And for them, they were. And for 35 years, they have been trapped again. But this time, they did something different. Instead of being defined by their worst moment, they decided to turn their lives around. So let's talk about what Eric and Lyle have done with the last 35 years. Eric has dedicated himself to helping others. He created a hospice program to care for terminally ill inmates, because even behind bars, he believes in compassion and dignity. He started a support group for survivors of abuse inside the prison walls, giving space to men who, like him, spent a lifetime being silenced. He has pursued higher education, earning multiple degrees, and is on track to graduate from UC Irvine. Lyle has led projects to transform the prison environment, making it a place of growth instead of despair. He spearheaded the Green Space Project, beautifying prison yards to create an environment proven to reduce violence and recidivism. He mentored young inmates, helping them find purpose and hope for a life beyond bars. And like Eric, he has dedicated himself to education, earning degrees, excelling in his studies, proving that he is not the same young man that he was when he entered that courtroom 30 years ago. And yet, the District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, refuses to talk about any of that. Instead of looking at the men they have become, he stands at a podium and repeats the same arguments made in 1996. Arguments that ignored who Eric and Lyle really were, arguments that erased their abuse, arguments that failed them then and continue to fail them now. He says they need to take responsibility. Well, they have. He says they need to acknowledge their past mistakes. Well, they have. They've also gone a step further and done the work to understand their bad decisions that harmed my family and the community at large. What he really means is that he needs them to admit to something that fits his narrative, to erase their own truth, to undo the decades of advocacy, healing, and change that they have worked for. But we won't let him rewrite history. We won't let him ignore the rehabilitation. We won't let him silence survivors of abuse. So what do we do now? We keep fighting. We keep pushing. We keep showing up. We don't let them go unseen. We don't let them go unheard. We make sure that the world knows who Eric and Lyle are now, not just who they were 35 years ago. So let me say this loud and clear. We are not asking for sympathy. We are demanding fairness. We are demanding that the law be followed. Because whether Hochman likes it or not, California law demands that judges consider the full picture: their youth at the time, the abuse they endured, and the men they have become. This is personal to me. I have watched them grow into men, and I have seen the work that they have done behind bars. And I am telling you right now, there is no justice in keeping them there. If the District Attorney, Hochman, wants to make this a political issue, we are going to make sure the world is watching. Because we are not backing down. We will not let him erase their abuse. We will not let him ignore the transformation, and we will not let him silence this family. So to everybody standing here today, thank you for showing up, for fighting, for demanding justice. Eric and Lyle are not forgotten. Their story is not over, and we are going to see this fight through until the end. Thank you all for joining me.
If anyone has any questions, we'll take a few at this moment. Just raise your hand.
Thank you. So the question is, what was our reaction to the two Angry Men podcasts that they called into? They're amazing, right? Yeah, they really are. I was so happy they did that because the world really, I can stand up here and tell you about the amazing men that they are, but when you actually hear them, and talk, especially when they are talking about the projects that they have done behind bars that they are so incredibly proud of. You know, Eric with the hospice, the question was about his hospice. So he educates other inmates about how empathy and compassion towards the inmates that are disabled, who have issues, so that they can, when they are released, that they can go on to be members of society with empathy, with compassion for the people in their communities. It is stunning. It is stunning. I know I can speak for every member of our family. We were so incredibly proud of them. We are so incredibly proud of them. So the governor, with the risk assessment, that is going through that track. That is a different track than the resentencing. So it is definitely, I wouldn't say that it is short-circuiting. Those are two parallel paths that are happening. Yeah. Yes, we were contacted almost immediately before he announced it that he was doing that, with a little bit of the caveat of, okay, don't get us too excited. This is a very rigorous process, but we're starting. Yeah.
Given the new DA's opposition to resentencing, do you believe you're only holding out this clemency for the governor?
No, I don't. So the district attorney did come out publicly and say that he was opposing resentencing. He was going to request to the judge to withdraw the resentencing recommendation. It should be noted that that decision is up to the judge, and that will be made on April 11th. But that is only one track. There are still 3 tracks to their freedom. One is the habeas corpus. The other is the resentencing, which he does play a role in. And then there is the clemency from the governor. And those are 3 completely separate. The question is, would I encourage them to cop to the 10 things I think that the district attorney would like them to do? I hope not. I mean, I hope not. That would be pandering to his narrative, to his idea of what the truth is, instead of the actual truth, which is theirs. So I can't imagine a world where they would do that.
Thank you, everyone, for the questions. We're now going to turn it over to the rally. I hope everyone joins us across the street.
Thank you.